Alright guys, that's Scrappy again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Scump has revealed OpTic's strategy going into the World Championship, the way they plan to cover the event and not exactly from there in person. Lots of factors potentially playing into this decision. Does it have anything to do with the state of the way this event is run and the COD League in general right now? And Scump also giving his perspective on the fact that many of these pro players aren't exactly putting in a shift in the state of the sea going into the World Championship being rather unlike that we have ever seen before. Very much intro to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Let's dive right into this. The COD League finally did it. They put out a graphic that said the date of the first match of the season. Now, well, the first match of the postseason, as it were. Of course, the World Championship is coming up in now less than 7 days' time. Today's Friday. Next Thursday, the matches officially start finally. Toronto versus Ravens, one of the key first-round games. Of course, if you guys aren't familiar, the first round games are Surge versus Heretics. That's one of the first round matches. Thieves, Boston, Ultra, Ravens, and then of course the pick of the bunch being OpTic versus FaZe. That's another massive one. The winner of OpTic and FaZe plays this series, the winner of this series, and it's Ravens Ultra. Now, of course, look, Ravens are the underdogs in this series. They fell off pretty dramatically towards the end of the season. At the end of the day, they've had plenty of time to prepare for Ultra, and it's not like Ultra were looking great towards the end of the year either. It definitely felt like the whole Mercury's drama affected the team to some degree. Are Ultra still favourites? Yes. Would it be a surprise if Ravens won? Yeah, even though their Search and Destroy has been strong this season and Dylan Rex has turned up a little bit over the last couple of weekends, although I'm saying last couple of weekends as if it was recently. It was a long time ago now because of the break that we have had. But yeah, the league actually put out a graphic that said the date of the matches, so that was nice. And this is a couple of matches into the day. This is the third game of the day, the 6 PM Eastern time match, and then I think it's OpTic versus FaZe after that at 7:30 Eastern. So yeah, it's going to be a later start than we've had for the last couple of majors. We'll see how that transpires during the course of the weekends, but of course by the time it gets to the Sunday there is only one match remaining in the tournament. This just to look at as well, average age of the teams. Now, look, this isn't old, precisely at all. Like, you know, these numbers are still relatively young in the grand scheme of things, but you know, it is a talking point. If you look at games like Valorant or Counter-Strike or whatever, you know, you've got players who are 16, but certainly 18, 17, 19 in that kind of ballpark, and the average age in some games is certainly lower than COD. Not like that's really a bad thing, like in Counter-Strike, the average age will certainly skew older than this, but, you know, over the last few years, the ages of the teams have gone up by pretty much 1 year per year. Now, I know that seems ridiculous, but the point that I'm saying is, like, it's not like there's a ton of new talent coming through. It's effectively similar players that we are seeing year on year, and therefore every year the average age is getting older, really, because we've just not got some of the young talent coming through. Even the likes of Abuzah and Mercury's and, you know, some of the other kids have seen come through, even Dylan Rex, for example. They're not exactly 18 and cracked. They've been around a while. The oldest player is Slasher, who's not far off 31, and Snoopy's the youngest player at 20. Now, JoeDeceives, I think, did come in when he was 18, but that was a couple of years ago now. We've not seen many other players in that category. Look, it's not maybe a massive deal. It's still fine, and it's interesting to see where the teams sit, really, in terms of average age. Ravens the oldest at 26.3, then FaZe, then OpTic, then Ultra, then Surge, then Thieves. All, to be fair, all of these teams at Champs are pretty similar, outside of Ravens who skew a bit older, largely thanks to Slasher. But, you know, you see the vision, maybe, that these numbers are just kind of going up and up, right? And next year, is that really going to change? It just, you know, to me, it's not like an issue exactly the numbers, what they are, but like, to me, the problem is that these numbers year on year, they just keep going up, which maybe is fine, but I think it's indicative of the fact that we don't really have a solid, functional Tier 2 system right now that's actually producing talent for the future. That's a major issue, but, you know, we've known that's a major issue for some time. This is another one. We did another blue pill, red pill yesterday. This one, I don't know, people said it was hard. I don't think it's that hard. Like, I think I would take the blue pill here. And I don't know, there is some debate on this, to be fair. Like, I can see why this is debatable, for sure. Especially maybe for those who haven't been around forever. But I don't know, the blue pill is Kremp 6 and Zinni, or maybe you exclude Zinni. If you want to include Zinni, Heglitch and Kremp, then maybe it changes things. But assuming that that's just a joke and it's just Kremp, Formal, Octane and Clayster, It's a pretty impressive AR lineup. You got Kremp, greatest player of all time. You got Formal, one of the absolute best AR players of all time. Best individual performance probably of all time at the Infinite Warfare World Championship. Obviously, if you're just talking about Call of Duty, it doesn't extend to the HaLo days, but even then, Formal, one of the most talented individual ARs I've ever seen. The same would apply to, and also accomplished too, obviously, let's not forget that. The same would apply to Octane as well. World champion, unbelievable raw gunny. Incredible assets outside of that as well in terms of his comms towards the end of his career. He achieved everything that he wanted to achieve, and then Clayster's the greatest AR ever as far as I'm concerned. Like, with 3 rings, you can argue between him and Formal. Octane isn't all that far behind either. So, you know, the blue play is tough to beat, really. And yeah, on the right-hand side, Scrap, Dashy, Cell, Insight, like great players. Obviously, people are going to say, wow, they snuck Insight in there. And I think Insight does, you know, unfortunately bring it down a little bit on the red pill side because, you know, Scrappy and Dashy and even Cellium, you can make some comparisons. But, you know, I still think that it's the blue pill here all day, to be honest. But intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. I know that there was some disagreement and some controversy on it in the replies, people saying it was relatively well balanced, but you know, I don't really think that there's too much debate on this, but intrigued your thoughts in the comments below. This is the World Championship bracket. I mentioned it towards the start of the video. Thieves Boston, Surge Heretics, FaZe OpTic, Toronto Ravens. That's the schedule going into the rest of the season, and there isn't much to come left. But what's going to happen out there in Kitchener for the World Championship, right? Because when it was confirmed that it was out there in Kitchener, it was a big point of controversy, and I think for very good reason why the event is being run there, because Toronto historically have run their events either in Madrid, which they did back in January, which was fantastic, or at the Matamar Athletic Centre in the heart of downtown Toronto, right? I mean, okay, it's a bit north of quite downtown, but it's pretty much in the heart of Toronto. The Matamar Athletic Centre, it's a great spot, and loved being there the last couple of years, but the capacity, you know, is probably, what, 2.5, maybe you can stretch it to 3, but something like that. I think they felt like they could probably go bigger and better than that, and there were some other options within the Toronto area. There were some other options maybe in some of the cities surrounding it. You know, there's that Coca-Cola auditorium in Toronto. Like, I don't imagine it was cheap. The CDL has some budget to put towards running these events, but maybe that wasn't going to work anymore. So they made the decision to go and do it elsewhere. And that, of course, elsewhere turned out to be Kitchener, which is, you know, quite a way outside of Toronto. So it was a big question that for, let's say, you know, Scump and the OpTic guys coming to do the watch party, what approach were they going to take? Were they going to go to the venue? Were they not going to do so? What does that mean for the tournament? Does it imply anything about the way that things are being run presently and potentially should be run in the future? Scump and Zinni also with some thoughts on just the state of the scene in general, because, you know, as I've said over the last few days, it's pretty rare that you see the scene like this. When going into the biggest tournament of the year, nothing is really happening at all. And, you know, I don't think that's necessarily to do with where the event is being held or anything quite to that degree. But there is an element here. So Scump reveals that, yeah, the OpTic guys are not going to be watch partying from there in person, which is pretty rare. Usually they will do so, right, in the Dallas event or whatever. Of course, in Miami, they did a pretty similar thing. Instead of going up to, this time it was Boca Raton, right? But instead of going to the venue, and last year at Fort Lauderdale, they got themselves an Airbnb, chilled in Miami for a bit and did the watch parties from there. Which, to be fair, worked perfectly well. I think Zuma might have a wedding as well, so I don't believe he's going to be in attendance at the World Championship either in Kitchener. So, you know, it definitely limits things a little bit, especially with the OpTic guys deciding, look, they are going to stay in downtown Toronto because it makes more sense for them to stay there and run the watch parties remotely. Then, you know, you can kind of see where that decision might have come from.
You say that, yeah, we're not going to be at the venue. So
you will be a couple times.
Yes, we'll be doing some meet and greets and stuff, but we're not watch partying from the venue.
Correct.
Riley said that it would be better for us, he thought, to not do it from there.
I like that. Putting it on Riley.
Well,
this is good.
No. It's not on Riley. Like, we all made, like, he
Well, he showed us, like, where we were going to be.
It's not a good spot.
We weren't going to be able to really see the stage.
Nah.
So if we can't see the stage, it's kind of like, then what's really the point?
And also, the suites were super expensive, though, too.
I mean, who cares about that? It's Champs. But, well, the company cares. But, fun money. Just not my money.
Yeah, that's right.
Fuck it.
That's right.
We're going to be in Toronto.
But yeah, we'll be there.
Enough.
We'll be.
You guys are having a couple meet and greets.
How far is this place from Toronto?
Hour and a half.
Right.
So we're gonna commute an hour and a half. I think we're doing 2 meet and greets over the weekend.
Yep.
We're going to commute an hour and a half there. The matches don't start till late, thankfully. I don't know if they've released the schedule, but it gives us plenty of time.
Around what time?
Ooh.
They're later.
They're very later.
Are they?
Yeah, they're later.
How do we know this?
I got the
Exchange
schedule.
sent us the schedule.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet. That's not public yet?
I don't think so.
Will it be public by Thursday when this goes up? Tomorrow?
I don't know. I don't.
Okay, cool. That helps me a lot because
It helps us. Oh, it is. It's already out. Okay, bet. So yeah, the matches don't start till 2, so that gives us plenty
3
of time.
p.m. Eastern. That's a late start. 3 p.m. Eastern's a late start.
Wait, every day?
Oh, that's in
Every
Central?
day. Yeah.
Oh shit, that's even better. So yeah, we have plenty of time to get there, do a meet and greet, and get back and be on time for the
Yeah,
watch
but what
party.
about dinners?
They got good food
I've
in
been booking
Kitchener.
them for like
I've heard a
9
lot
p.m.
about
We're
it.
staying in Toronto.
That's good.
Yeah, we're staying in Toronto.
That's good.
We
We're
figured that
staying in
we do the commute to go and do the meet and greet, hang out at the Green Wall and in the north. But the dinners, I have to go home. I have to go to bed happy, you know?
Bo's
Right.
is coming. First time Bo's going to Toronto.
Hell yeah.
Can't wait.
It's going to be a blast, man. I mean,
And we get an early on Wednesday too, so we can do our normal things.
we're flying Wednesday?
Yeah, we fly. Yeah, 'cause it starts Thursday. I think we fly Wednesday morning, I think.
Hell yeah. Bet. I can't wait, dude. It's champs. It's been a little bit of a lull here.
Dude, the downtime, I mean,
We've had a month.
but it's been like, with how dead COD is right now, you wouldn't think that Champs is in a week. Like, I don't understand what's going on. There's no 8s.
Bro,
It's like a complete blackout. There's
Well,
there's no information. There's
no
nothing.
one's talking.
There's like nothing.
No hype.
I've never experienced this before Champs, I feel like. Usually it's post Champs or
Last
post
year,
EWC.
I feel like it died down last year too.
Not like
But
this,
this
dude.
is-
like there's
Dude,
there's
this
not
is
a peep.
like everyone's playing Counter-Strike. There's like nothing around Call of Duty.
So I'm sure the venue is going to be fantastic. Toronto always run a good event, but I guess as OpTic are saying that from a purely logistical perspective, maybe there wasn't quite the spots that they could have had available to them as they have done before. Like at the Toronto event of the Matinee, there's these 2 kind of suites at each corner of the venue where I think the first year we ran the event there in 2023, the flank was set up there. And then the year after, we got our spot up there because the flank weren't there, and then Scump was on the other side. But there were 2 of these boxes that like overlooked the crowd or overlooked the stage. And it was like a mega spot to be in. You could see the whole venue from it. It was awesome. And, you know, we've had similar things, of course, in Dallas last year for the World Championship as well. The setups that were available, of course, in DreamHack recently as well. I mean, effectively, DreamHack was just a massive rectangle, so you can do what you want. And that's what they did, and it was fantastic. The league did a great job facilitating. But maybe in some of the arenas, with the way that the suites are, and even, you know, I was hearing about the suites as well. I'm not sure exactly what the numbers on them were, I forget, but people talked about them. I think I was hearing talk in Major 2 back in March about what the suites were going to be costing for the World Championship, and it was like very, very substantial indeed compared to some of the other tournaments. So, and seemingly the argument might be that for Hex, it's like, well, look, do I want to pay that for a suite and maybe, you know, use that to facilitate the watch party from, or maybe that comes separately, but also have a suite as well for friends and family and all this? Or does it make more sense to spend the money that you could spend on the suite to just get a good spot in Toronto for a few days, enjoy the city there and watch it remotely? And yeah, head to the venue a couple of times to run everything, but not necessarily too much more than that. So I think this is just quite telling, really, about where things are currently and where things need to go. I mean, I remember when Kitchener was first talked about as an event hosting venue, and it's not really about the venue, it's just, if you want, you know, people like Scump, and I mean, look, at the end of the day, Scump is one of the biggest competitive COD fans you're ever going to find. The guy is one of the greatest ever players. I mean, you know, the best player, I would say, maybe not the greatest, but number 2, whatever, you know, talent. We don't need to talk about who Scump is. The point is that Scump loves COD, and Scump would love to be there, I'm sure, for the event, and he's going to be there. But it just doesn't make sense necessarily for him to be there in person because of the circumstances around the event. And also, as Hex was making the point, it's like, look, he wants to eat good, right? He wants to go home satisfied with his day, what he's eaten for the day, and you know, the way that he's feeling. And you know, maybe in Kitchener that becomes more challenging because of the options on the table. And I think that's just a natural consequence. And you know, from people I've talked to, it seems like Kitchener is a perfectly reasonable spot, but it's not quite, you know, downtown Toronto. And some people say it's certainly not a reasonable spot. So you know, it's just one of those things that if the OpTic guys aren't going to be there, it's difficult to imagine that fans are going to want to fly in for 4 days to be there, at least, not in droves, and maybe not in the droves that Toronto are hoping could be the case. So I think it could be kind of telling in terms of the way that, these events are run in the future. I wonder whether we'll get something similar that happens. I'm sure the event itself in person is going to be spectacular, but outside of that, those are where some of the questions have been raised, and the OpTic guys are certainly on board with that. So very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.